This is Performance Anxiety, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Mark. And in an unusual turn of events, this episode features something a little different. I have 80% of the band Carver Commodore on the show. So that's lead singer and guitarist Payton Pruitt, lead guitarist Phillip Blevins, multi-instrumentalist Clayton Christopher, and bassist David Smith Jr. We'll give drummer Noah Freeman a pass due to having a baby and everything. So we immediately start off with the tough questions. Roll Tide or War Eagle? After a tense moment or two, we relax and discuss how this five-piece band from all over the state of Alabama got together. Their onstage near misses, one of the guys rescues a truck in the middle of the episode, and I find out who Carver Commodore is, or was supposed to be. The band's got a great sound that is always evolving, but always recognizable as Carver Commodore. The band and I have their friends Monsoon to thank for all of this, which makes this one of my favorite kinds of episodes, a referral of sorts. So these guys have new music in the works as well as touring, so get out there, see the shows, buy the music, spread the word about Carver Commodore. Follow them on social media. They're pretty easy to find. And you can follow us at Performance ANX on Twitter and Instagram. Feel free to reach out there or email us at theperformanceanxietypod@gmail.com. You can help the show out with a cup of coffee at ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety, or you can buy stuff with our logo at performanceanx.threadless.com. Now open your ears for the new sounds of Southern rock with Carver Commodore on Performance Anxiety, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. All right.
I can start.
All right.
My name is Payton, and this is Performance Anxiety, the podcast, and I'm going to promote Carver Commodore, the worst disco band in the world, but the best Southern disco band in the world.
Ooh.
Love it.
All right, who's up next?
I'm Phillip. I am promoting, I'm Phillip. This is Performance Anxiety Podcast. Excited to be here. This week, I'm promoting coffee. I'm a beanag. Gotta admit it, I just left a coffee shop. I need help.
Help.
Beanag.
I love it.
Yep.
I'll go. I'm short and sweet. How about that? Because I don't know what to promote on here. So I'll just say I play bass guitar in Carver Commodore, and you are listening to Performance Anxiety. And that's my plug.
Wow. That was beautiful, David.
Thank you.
My name is Clayton. I play keys and guitar in the band Carver Commodore. And I'm going to promote the chicken parmesan I'm going to be cooking for dinner tonight.
Ooh.
Oh,
That's
Really getting crazy. Really getting crazy tonight, y'all.
I can get behind that. Man.
you know what I have a good promotion. I'm going to promote Valley Fellowship Christian Academy's basketball team because I'm about to go to their basketball game after this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's where Heather
right.
works, isn't it?
Well,
That's where my wife.
well, their season might be over by the time this comes out, so we'll see.
Next year.
They'll feel it.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Good. I'm going to ask one time, Roll Tide or War Eagle?
Oh, man. Well, you're a Roll Tide. I see that.
You got
Roll
everything.
Tide. I'm going to say Roll Tide.
All right.
Was that for us?
Yeah.
Oh.
Somewhere between the hood, the hat, and the mug, I felt the tide come in.
You didn't see my football with Chris Samuels, Freddie Millens, and Sean Alexander's autographs on it.
No, I didn't. But hey,
I'm going to take this hat off because it doesn't really fit with these headphones. There we go. But I actually do wear this every day. So my brother graduated in '99, so
Okay.
I didn't go. I went to a school for photography, and they didn't have a whole lot of sports there, so I just adopted his team. So
There you go.
Roll Tide, man.
So yeah. So I have no idea how many people are joining in on this one. So if you
Yeah, we're missing Noah tonight. He's got the baby.
He's got a baby.
All right. Well, guys, I thank you so much for coming on. It's not often I get 75 or 80% of a band on. It's usually just one person. So this is awesome.
We love it. Any excuse to hang out together we'll take.
Yeah, we never separate ever.
All right. Well, the one thing that I will mention is that if more than one of you guys talks over each other, it cuts one of you out. So just be mindful of that, because otherwise I get weird, disjointed conversations, and it's a weird edit that I got to do. So, but that being said, basically every question is going to be to each of, whoever wants to answer it. Just kind of throw it up. Except for the first one. I want to know how each of you guys got into music in the first place. Was it something that was in the house a lot when you were growing up, or is it something that's new to you? Because I've heard it just about every single way on this podcast. Well, I'll throw somebody out there. Clayton, let's start with you. How did you get into this whole thing?
So I started playing guitar when I was 10. Took lessons for a few years. I was a big Drake and Josh fan, which may not be a good thing now, but I thought Drake was the coolest dude ever. And I was like, I gotta learn how to play guitar. I gotta be like this guy. So started learning guitar at 10, and then picked up a few other instruments along the way. And then always knew from the beginning I wanted to be in a group, some sort of band, and, play with other people. I didn't have the voice to be a solo artist, nor did I want to do it by myself, because I enjoyed playing music with my friends. So that's kind of what got me into music.
All right, David, what about you?
Oh, sorry, my phone's all right. There we go. I grew up. My dad was massively influential on me. He was a singer and artist in general, and was in some bands and stuff. And he just got me and my sister and brother really into like hair metal and like 80s rock and stuff. That was kind of what we grew up on. And then
like your dad.
And then once I got a little bit older, there was a show on MTV that this band called Cartel did. And it was Dr. Pepper Presents Band in a Bubble with Cartel. And it was on MTV. And it was just them like on a pier in New York. And they had to write an album. They couldn't leave the bubble. They had to write an album. And I saw an episode of this show, and I faked sick from school one day because they were doing a marathon of the whole show. So I faked sick so that I could stay home and watch the whole show in its entirety on MTV. And after that, I was probably like 12 at that point. And then after that, I just wanted to be in a band so bad, because it looked like they were having so much fun together, stuck in this bubble writing an album. So then I ended up, my cousin lived with us at the time, and I ended up stealing his guitar whenever he was out of the house, and learned how to play on his guitar. And, the rest just, meant to be.
And now better about being stuck in a bubble with a whole bunch of other dudes trying to write an album.
It looked more glamorous on the show than, hours at a time and stuff like that. But I still love it, honestly.
All right.
One of the best parts of being in a band, for sure.
All right, Payton, what about you, man?
So I grew up listening to all kind of different music. My dad was more of like the classic rock guy. I live and grew up in Muscle Shoals, which is like got its own music history and stuff.
I just watched that documentary today.
Dude, yeah, it's a great documentary. And he kind of taught me that history and stuff growing up. And then my mom listened to like more pop radio and rap and stuff. So kind of got the country and rock stuff from my dad, and the pop and hip hop stuff from my mom. And then when I was like 12, I started playing guitar because a friend of mine at school started playing guitar, and it was just something to do. And I was like, we were kind of like competing a little bit.
Okay.
And so just something to do, started learning AC/DC songs, and I loved it. And I kept doing it, and he kind of gave it up after a while, and the rest is history, I guess. I started writing songs when I was like 16. And,
oh, wow.
I just out of necessity, because I wanted to be in bands, and I went to a really small school and lived in the country. So it's kind of like I had to write the songs, and I had to be the singer because nobody else would do it. So started doing that when I was like 16, and they were really bad, and they're still really bad for the most part.
Well, I think a few people would disagree, especially a guy named Bruh Moment, who on one of your YouTube posts says, "I love most of your music."
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite YouTube posts ever. I love most of your music.
That's all we can ever hope for is that somebody likes most of our music.
Yep.
All right.
Or any of it.
Yeah. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Hey, everybody. I've got a great sponsor that I want to talk to you about. For a long time, I wondered if CBD was something that might benefit me, but I had no idea how to find out. I didn't know what products were available, what companies were reputable, and really even what questions to ask to get the answers I needed. That's why I'm so glad I found Pure Spectrum CBD. They helped me discover what CBD could do for me. They were awesome at determining what my needs were, and they helped me find a starting point. I've started with the tincture and the isolate, but there's also gummies, topicals, mints, and a lot more. Pure Spectrum not only has CBD products for wellness, they also have them for fitness and recovery. There's even CBD for your pets. The website has a ton of information and chat options are available, and all their products are third-party tested, and the results are available right on their website. So go to purespectrumcbd.com to do your own research, and when you check out, use code PerformanceANX for 15% off your order. Check them out on Instagram at Pure Spectrum Hemp and subscribe to their email list for sales, new products, and updates. Pure Spectrum, refined phytocannabinoid wellness products for all lifestyles. All right, Phil, what about you? And how did you get into the whole thing?
I want to give you all a quick backstory of what's happening here right now. So, like I said, I just left a coffee shop, right?
Right.
I got our friend Nate here. Nate has done, here, let me flip the camera around, some touring with us. He was leaving and his truck died. So it's in my car and there's a little on the window and he's like, you got to help me push my truck into the parking space. So I'm out here hanging out in the parking lot with Nate. But
awesome.
I heard most of that backstory. I think that honestly, Payton and I have a pretty similar background when it comes to music. You know, I grew up outside of the city limits a little bit, and my brother and I started playing guitar at the same time. I was 11. We both got acoustic guitars, took lessons for a little bit, just really loved classic rock. And, you know, Stairway was like the third song I learned.
Oh my gosh.
And I would say that like most of my background came from church music. Starting out, our former worship leader taught me how to play guitar. Took about, 3 or 4 months of lessons there. And from there, just kind of started to teach myself guitar tabs. Got an electric guitar for Christmas that year. And then it was just, game over after that point. So it was all about meeting other players and forming bands and having little jams and garage sessions and stuff. So I formed a family band in middle school called Alice in Thunderland.
Oh, nice.
It's a wild time. We played like classic rock songs and stuff, and just learned a lot through that. And yeah, had a blast. So, I mean, very much just kind of your classic, just guitar player that wants to rock and roll. That's my upbringing with music right there.
And so are you all from like the Florence, Muscle Shoals area?
So I'm actually the only one that's from here and that lives here currently.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest of the guys live all over the rest of the state of Alabama. You want to tell them where y'all live, boys?
Yeah,
I'm from, go ahead, David.
Beat ya. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm from Gadsden, Alabama.
Oh, very familiar with Gadsden.
Mm.
I'm from Birmingham.
Okay.
And I met Payton in Florence. What was it, like 2011? Somewhere around there. We kicked it off pretty well and started playing music together ever since then. So it's kind of where a lot of the origin story starts to take place as far as Carver is concerned.
Okay.
Yeah, another kind of circling back to family, he used to play with my cousin, Abby, a lot. And they connected us, and we started a folk rock band when that was like the big thing, in 2011. And yeah, from there, just kind of wanted to rock and roll. And I think that's where Carver really started to take shape after that. So
is that the Abbey that you guys recorded with?
It's not. That was, you're talking about the fantasy song. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is a different Abby.
Okay.
Abby Hood is my cousin. Yeah. She's a fantastic singer, but Abby Holiday is who you're thinking of that we featured on Fantasy earlier this year. She's an incredible solo artist.
Yeah. That's
an amazing
great song.
We walk around this emergency, try to forget that it's crumbling. We're making friends with Mr. Vanity, whatever Oh yeah.
It's only 'cause we have to. It feels like we all need to. It's only 'cause we have to. I wish we didn't need to.
Yeah.
Yes, when I
That's cool
lived
that you
in,
know that.
when I lived in Alabama, I was on the exact opposite side of the state from
Okay.
Payton. I was down by Dothan, so
Okay.
I was like way down south, right off of the Fort Rucker gate, right in Daleville.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a little familiar with some of the landmarks you guys might throw out there. So, all right, so how did you guys come up with the name Carver Commodore? And what came first, the song or the band name?
So the band name came first. Before we move on, though, we got to give a shout out to Noah.
Yes.
And tell his quick history. Noah's from Gadsden as well.
Can you do an impression?
No, I can't. I'll just say, I'm sorry. That's my Noah impression. Noah is from Gadsden. He started playing drums when he was 15, maybe 14.
Yeah.
And then started playing drums in hardcore bands, I think, and then started doing vocals in hardcore bands.
Yeah,
Started
not
playing
drums,
at church.
vocals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Started playing in hardcore bands, doing vocal stuff, screaming and everything. And then I think somewhere along the way, somebody needed a drummer, so he started playing drums.
Oh my
And we kind of all grew up listening to the same like music and stuff. So yeah, a lot of the same influences for him as us. But anyways, Carver Commodore was a family name. It was my great uncle's name. And I kind of heard the story my whole life that I was supposed to be named Carver Commodore, but my parents decided not to because it was like bad luck or something.
Oh.
And I never really asked about that, but I was like, okay, whatever. And then when we were looking for a band name, they were talking about the story at a family get together or whatever. And I asked a few more questions, and it turned out that he was like around in the 50s. And then he one day said that he saw like this orb of light come down from the sky and tell him that he was going to die in like 3 days.
Oh my.
So he got all his stuff in order, got all his affairs in order. And then 3 days later, he got hit by a car, like while he was walking down the road. So
whoa,
that's the story of Carver Commodore Pruitt. And then we decided to name the band that just because we thought it was unique and nobody else is going to have that band name.
That's for
but
sure.
it's kind of backfired because nobody can like spell or say the name most of the time. So
Or remember.
Now
or remember.
Now we have all the bad luck.
Yeah,
Curse in different ways.
it continues.
Yeah.
Probably a bad move on my part. Whatever.
So
Stuck with it now.
So how did I heard how a couple of you guys met? How did the band all come together as a whole then?
Yeah. So as Phil was saying, we kind of met in 2011, 2012, started playing together. And then we played together for a few years as The Bear and the Bride, which is like our folk rock band.
I say that I love you, then I go behind your back. Sometimes I feel like my heart is made of black.
And then in 2016, we had moved, we had 6 members in that band. We had all kind of swapped places. Like I moved to Nashville for a while. Then when I moved back, a lot of the other band members moved to Nashville. So it just kind of naturally fell apart and we weren't a band anymore. So we decided to do something closer to what we'd been wanting to do the whole time anyways, which was just be a rock and roll band.
Okay.
So we decided to do that. We kept that name for a while, had some other guys come in and play drums and bass and played a few shows and all that kind of thing. And then late 2016 or 2017, we decided on the name Carver Commodore. And then me and Phil were the main 2 members. And then we met Noah somewhere around 2014 or 15, started playing with his other band, and then just kind of slowly started stealing members from all these bands and all these places. And so Noah started playing with us in 2018, He became our drummer. And then Clayton started playing with us in 2020, David in 2021. So we finally rounded out the full lineup now.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. So how often are you guys, well, I mean, when you started off compared to now, have you increased the amount that you guys are playing out? Was this always something that you wanted to do like full time, or was this kind of like a side thing for a while? Or
Phil, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think we've always agreed on that with how much we like to play live, and thinks that at least people really enjoy our shows. The touring aspect of Carver Commodore is maybe one of the most important things. In 2019 or so, like right before the pandemic, we played a good bit of shows, but in 2021, I think we played like 80 or something like that. Like it was more than we've ever had. And a little bit less this year, but that was intentional. We we're a little bit more picky with what we took, had a little bit more intention. And, I think that we all really want to continue to grow in the live sense. And one of our biggest goals right now is to, not only continue to do good headlining shows, but also go out and support one of our favorite artists on tour. We've gotten to do a few one-off dates here and there with some bands that we really like Coin. We did that earlier this year. They're a great indie pop band, but we really want to hit the road with someone that's compatible and we could share the stage with and help elevate them, but also expose us to a new audience that hopefully is also compatible with us. So, I say like live shows is definitely still a very important slice of the pie, especially in rock music, where there's a lot of energy and special moments that can't be contained within a record. And we try to get those things across through recorded music, but there's just something about seeing a band live that is irreplaceable. So it definitely is something we want to continue to develop, and I think holds a special place in all of our hearts. Definitely a big desire for us.
Is it tough to get everybody together since you guys are kind of spread out throughout the northern part of the state?
Mm-hmm.
Is it tough to do scheduling and get everybody together for practices and touring?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. The idea is that we're all rehearsed and, hopefully we show up and know our stuff when we leave. But, with the quick kind of weekend bursts of shows or week bursts of shows that we do, we usually get together and, do a quick rehearsal before we leave and run through some stuff if we got the time and, feel pretty confident about jumping in, try to be pro about it.
Right.
We do have to be careful about how we plan that out. We do want to allow time for rehearsal and stuff like that. But yeah, we're all basically 2 hours apart from each other.
Yeah.
With the exception of Clayton and Noah.
Yep.
Is there a primary songwriter in the band, or does everybody chip in?
Now, so far, it's definitely been me as the primary songwriter. Okay. On this last record, we have, or this last project that we just recorded, we tried just more collaboration in that, especially in the studio, because before it was kind of like I wrote all the songs, and the way I write songs usually is like by fully demoing them out, kind of whatever I'm hearing in my head, I'll demo it out on Logic or GarageBand or whatever. And so it'll come out as like a fully finished, but like rough song, and then I'll send it to everybody and see what they think, and we'll make changes from there or whatever. But on this most recent project, we've tried to collaborate a bit more in the studio of like be open to changes and everybody playing their own part for the first time, because we didn't have David when we had recorded our last record or the record before that. And, just because of work schedules and stuff, I had recorded a lot of guitar on the records in the past and stuff. So yeah, on this last record, we tried to be as collaborative as possible. And in the future, I want to do that too with the songwriting portion of it as well.
Okay. So when you mean the last record, is that Welcome to the Modern World or the the latest EP? Or is it something that's not out yet?
Something that's not out yet. Yeah. I keep calling it a record, but I'm lying. It's not a record.
Not yet. when the band initially got together, and I guess Payton, this one's mostly for you. How quickly were you writing your own material? Is that something that you had been doing since your previous band, and was that music that you'd already had together, or were you writing fresh for Carver Commodore from the beginning?
Yeah, so I had written. There was one song that was kind of left over from the Bear and the Bride stuff, Stars and Galaxies. So that's the first song we ever put out as Carver Commodore.
If I could, then I would jump up to the moon, try to make some room for someone else. If I could, then I would ride a shooting star wherever you are to be with you. It'd be too easy to give it all up and let you take this cup from me. If it was up to me, out of the garden of my dreams, the stars and galaxies, people in between.
Yes, that's
And
a good
I wrote
song.
that song. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I wrote that song in like 2014 or something. Like it was a long time ago, maybe even 2013. And it was totally different when I first wrote it. Totally different with the Bear and the Bride, that band that we put it out with the first time. But I knew when we started this band that I wanted to keep that song and do like a different version of it. So we kind of reworked it and put that out. And then I think at some point I'd also written Blind.
I tried my best not to notice you was taking your time, but in my head I'd assume you'd never be mine. I was I see the world, you see it too. I've seen it all, but I only have eyes for you. So stop your worrying, stop your crying. There are so many others, but I am blind for you.
From our first record, and then like Active Aggression or something like that was probably
Man, those are
in
two of my
the same time
favorites
period.
off that
Yeah,
Foley.
thanks,
Those are, and I wanted to mention this to you at one point because that album is so unique to me because it kind of sounds, and I hope this comes out the right way. It kind of sounds like if the Strokes wrote the music, but the Fame Gang played the songs.
I'm down with that.
That's awesome.
That's a great comparison. I'll take it.
So, good, because I'm always hesitant to compare bands to other bands because, everybody wants to, sounds unique, and I hate that band. So I'm always nervous about that. But it's such a cool sound because it's got that sharp writing, but it does have that southern sound to it. That's Muscle Shoals made famous. So I think it's two worlds that I can't think of another band that's put those two worlds together.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. We can't really escape the Southern thing. At least I can't. So,
And I'll tell you, I love
I'm
K.
trying to embrace it at this point.
I love K.
Oh, you love K?
I just wish it was longer because it kind of sounds like it's like an inside joke within the band.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that joke is, and I want to know more about it. So,
Yeah.
that's a
so
great
that was,
song.
Thank you. That was when I was writing Thumbs Up, that was just at the end of the song. That was just an outro that I had on there for some reason. And what ended up on the record is pretty much that exact thing. And then Noah recorded like live drums over it. So
Okay.
yeah, it was always just a very short outro. I don't know if I had like started that as the idea for Thumbs Up or something, or if it was just, some extra thing that I thought of in the moment and was like, oh, I should record this just to get it down or what. But yeah, K is really fun. We've tried to play it live a few times and it's just never really felt right. So
Oh, really?
it may be a thing that just lives on the record forever, which is cool.
So the music has progressed a bit from that album to Welcome to the Modern World, like Cancel Culture, for example. It definitely sounds like some of the earlier work, but it's different enough to hear progression. And I really like when bands are able to do that, you know, keep what made them unique in the first place, but progress, because it doesn't always happen. But I hear it on Cancel Culture, the title track, you know, Tell Me What You Want, People Pleaser, and I can hear them anchored in the older stuff, but definitely moving forward. So is the new music going to be similar to what? Is there going to be a new change? Is it going to sound similar, different? And how are the new guys chipping into the sound?
I definitely think that there's a common thread between the different albums that Carver's put out. You know, even like, you know, one of the highest compliments that we can get is being compared in any way to the Strokes, because that's like all of us. That's like one of our favorite bands. But,
oh, cool.
Even with like I can really mostly speak to what we've been working on over the past year. And to me, it still sounds like, you know, Carver, it still has that kind of garage rock vibe to it. But, you know, it just depends on the season of influence, I think, for a lot of us. Like, you know, it seems like what we worked on this past year is obviously influenced by those garage rock bands, but then also majorly influenced by like 60s, you know, Beatles and pop from the 60s and stuff like that. So It's like there's a common thread that I think we have as a band, that we sound like Carver, whether it's a song like a heavier song like Good Idea. Or whether it's, you know, a song like Stars and Galaxies, one's a little bit more pop, one's a little bit more rock and roll. But when you listen to it, it's like you can still sense the DNA that it's the same band, which I think is really cool. And something that I think comes directly from Payton as a writer too, is that, you know, it's kind of this undeniable fingerprint that Payton has specifically as a songwriter, that there's this special commonality even between difference and inspiration. And fortunately, with what we worked on this past year, we all kind of knew where we wanted to land and what we were all being inspired by. And that just kind of informed how Payton wrote, and then also how we collaborated after the song's initial writing had begun. So yeah, I just think that we have a sound that is something rooted in that Alabama soul, and then something that's, you know, a bunch of boys from Alabama that, you know, got their hands on rock and roll albums from New York and all over, and were inspired by it, but never forgot the grassroots of where we come from.
Oh, I love that. I was listening to the new EP just before we got on here, and I was looking at some of the videos, and one of the other common threads is a Bama shirt, which I appreciate. So thank you guys for wearing a Bama shirt in 2 videos. I really appreciate that.
Gotta represent.
Yeah.
But so that EP, Too Much, is that music that was left over from the previous album, or is that stuff that was being worked on for the new album?
Yeah, those were the leftovers for sure.
Okay.
We recorded 17 songs in the sessions for Welcome to the Modern World. And I think They Don't Know, which is on the Too Much EP, may have been like the first completed song from those sessions.
Lately, I've been a big session, subject to constant conversation. Beats. Now all our friends agree that I'm just a good time looking for something free. And you could do better, but you're too hung up to see. But they don't know my baby and me.
Oh, wow.
So there was
Same with
a lot of
Jeff
those songs were like, Jeff Garlin, They Don't Know, Something Okay. We're all in like the first round of sessions. So yeah, they were very early on a part of that record.
I really like Jeff Garlin, and it's actually not even his first mention in this podcast. So
That's funny.
which is kind of weird. He, I had a previous guest on, a lady named Beth Jeans Houghton from the UK, and she was, I guess, in LA, and her guitar got stolen, and he liked her music, so he bought her a guitar.
Oh my gosh.
What a guy.
So
What a guy.
I know. So
Our story to that is when we were with Garlin, people started tagging him in the Instagram post, and he commented on it and just said, so.
you cut out.
That's
What did he say? You cut out just as you were going to say what he said.
Yeah, he commented on the post and just said, I dig. And so that's the official view from Jeff Garlin is just, quote, I dig Jeff Garlin.
That is
He gave his blessing as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
well, he's going to get tagged again in this because I tagged him in that other one, and he's going to be like, what the fuck is going on with this podcast?
Blow that man
Love it.
up.
But
We kind of forget about this, but on the EP, the last song, Devil May Care, we actually recorded separate from the rest too. As an idea Payton had at some point after everything was done. Like, and what did we do that early this year?
Yeah, January.
Like January, February?
Yeah, I think I wrote that song around this time last year, or like maybe even in January of this year. So it was a late addition for sure.
She had an eye like the sky, widespread blue and white, watching every little move, shining steady, burning bright. He was a pretty good liar, pretty good at picking fights, never got 'cause all he done was undercover of the night. Well, two people living on the dare, illegal, devil may care.
that's that kind of makes it does sound a little bit different from everything else on the album. So that makes a lot more sense to me now that you said that. So, but what I love the mix that you guys get of the heavy and the light. I mean, some of my favorite bands do that, like Placebo, and also you get these amazing mixtures of this heavy and light music, and it draws me in, and I love it.
Thank you.
So what's next for you guys? I know we're running short on time here. What's going to happen in 2023? We're in December at this point of 2022. What's the next year looking like for you?
Yeah, we're just going to put out more music, play more shows. That's our big plan. We've got some cool stuff
I like it
happening in January that we're gonna do for this next project, and yeah, we're excited to keep moving forward. I'm sure I'll start writing more for another record and all that stuff, and in the meantime, but yeah. That's the plan, is just to keep doing our thing for sure.
Well, I missed you guys when you came up to the pie shop in DC. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get there, but how was it? I've only been there once, and that's when I shot Monsoon and the band The Ritualists. So how did you guys
That's how
like
I
it?
found you, actually, because we played with Monsoon before, and they are awesome. They're so good. And I guess I saw you maybe through something that they posted, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This guy likes great music and it's like reviewing stuff. Dude, like that was a great show, and that's a super cool venue too. It's like a good size. There was only, 30 or 40 people there, but it felt really full because of that. Because, you know, it's kind of intimate.
It is
and tight. So
narrow.
Yeah, it was a blast.
I was kind of curious when there's 5 guys in the band. Like, how are they gonna fit everybody on stage, man? That's a little
man.
It's a
miracle.
It's a tight fit
It's a miracle.
for you guys.
Yeah, we're used to running all over each other and hitting each other's headstocks. And I think, was that the show that Payton, you hit David in the head with your headstock, or was that another show?
Probably.
I think that it happens all the time, you know, but I'm sure it happens. We always end up like bumping into each other. Or what's really interesting too is that we all have like this chemistry on stage that like we'll narrowly miss each other to the point where people think that we've choreographed like our playing. Like people think that like, oh, like do you and Payton do that intentionally, or do you and Clayton do that intentionally? They ask me that all the time, and it's just kind of this like chemistry that we all naturally have with each other that, you know, we narrowly miss each other. But sometimes there are moments where a headstock somebody gets hit in the face, but the show goes on, and it's just part of being in a band. So.
Maybe it's the ghost of Carver Commodore protecting you guys.
That's right.
I think you're on to something there.
Yeah.
Well, how can people follow the band, follow social media, websites, and find out about new releases and shows and tours and stuff?
Yeah, Sure. At Carver Commodore on Instagram. We're on TikTok from time to time. We're on Facebook for anybody that's, you know, like anywhere. You can find us anywhere, obviously. And then carvercommodore.com for tour information and merch and all that stuff. And but yeah, just at Carver Commodore. That's the beauty of having such a unique name, is that you get all of the at Carver Commodores on every platform, because it's taken. So that's having a unique name for sure.
That's true. That's a good point. Well, first of all, thank you for joining me on this. Is good. This has been so much fun, and I've loved getting to know the music. It's so good.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to come back to the area. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, have a good evening and roll tide.
All right, roll
thanks,
tide,
man. You too.
Bye, man.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.